Beans are a pantry staple. They're full of protein and fiber, and it's really good for your gut to get all of that in there. Plus, they're super inexpensive and they go a long way. Most people are terrified of cooking beans from dry, but I'm going to show you how to do it perfectly every time. And this method works with any bean. These are a large butter bean, also sometimes known as a lima bean. And these ones here are Carlin peas, native to the UK, but absolutely delicious and reminiscent of a chickpea, just a little nuttier. For the best result, you'll want to soak your beans at least 8 to 12 hours or overnight. You'll want to go through and check your beans for any stones or broken bits. You can see this bean has broken open, which means it's probably a little bit old and is going to be tough. And no matter what kind of cooking I do with it, it's never going to get tender. So chuck that out. You can see here this one has split in half, another one we don't want to use. You can see a massive difference between the beans when you've soaked them and you haven't. Soaking not only improves the texture, but it also aids in digestion of the bean. We all know what happens when you eat beans, but the soaking really helps to minimize the wind. And also when beans are being harvested, they can sometimes get grit and stone in them. So you want to make sure there's none of that in there either. I'm going to drain off this water. Just like with the butter beans, if they're split open or cracked in half, just get rid of them. You can see these ones have been soaked and these are still dried. Some important tips when you're cooking beans. The fresher the dried bean, the more likely it is to soften up and be delicious. If your beans are very old, they might never soften no matter how long you soak or boil them. Add your beans to a heavy bottom pot and then cover with water. The amount of water will depend on how big your pot is. You want to make sure you're using plenty of water, at least 2 to 3 inches above the beans in your pot. And I'm going to do exactly the same with the butter beans. You can see this pot's smaller. I didn't need as much water. And then add in your kombu. The kombu is optional, but it releases minerals that raises the pH and makes the beans softer faster. It also helps to improve digestibility and it gives it a little umami flavor. You could add in a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda to the mixture, but not everybody enjoys that flavor, but it will give the same cooking result. You can order kombu online or you can find it in your local Asian specialty store. Now I'm going to set both pots to boil on high heat. Once your beans start boiling, turn it right down to low. We want to simmer them quite gently so they don't split open. During the first 10 to 15 minutes, you'll want to skim off the foam so that it doesn't add any discoloration to your beanstalk. Some beans will just be foamier than others. You don't have to, but if you've got any beans that are floating up, I do tend to take them out of the bean mixture. You don't want to add anything acidic to the mix before the beans are tender. No tomatoes, no vinegar, nothing like that, because it will prevent the beans from softening. Once your beans are at a gentle simmer, give it a little stir and then pop your lid on slightly ajar. You may need to adjust your heat settings to ensure that this stays at a simmer. And I'm just checking, there's a tiny little bit more foam that's come up. So I'm just going to remove as much of that as I can. And then just give it a little stir to make sure nothing's stuck to the bottom. And pop the lid back on.
Here are the cooking times for the 10 most popular beans.
I've given you a guideline for the length of time to cook the beans, but make sure they're done by taste and texture, not by time. Yours may take a little less time or a little longer. A really important note for kidney beans, make sure they're completely fully cooked through. This is absolutely critical because kidney beans can actually be very dangerous and deadly if they're not completely cooked.
When there's about 15 minutes left, remove the lid and add your seasoning. I'm adding in a few big pinches of salt, at least 3 or 4 tablespoons. Beans really love salt to boost that flavor.
Always add your salt at the end of the cooking process to preserve the texture of the bean.
And give it a good stir.
You can add in your seasonings, whether that's just salt or a little bit of vinegar, or if you wanted to add some additional seasonings to jazz them up.
This is what your beans should look like at this stage. You can see there's still a little bit of firmness to the bean. It needs to cook for a little bit longer. Leave your beans to simmer for another 15 minutes with the lid off. Now that they're finished, you can remove the kombu. Perfectly cooked beans ready to add to your favorite recipe.
Beans are done when they're really creamy inside. You don't want any chalky bits in the middle of your bean. The easiest way to check is to cut one in half with a knife and give it a little squish. If it's a smooth, creamy paste in the center, they're ready to eat.
I'm ladling mine up into a heat-proof glass container that I can store in my refrigerator. Make sure to let the beans cool before putting them in the refrigerator. When I make beans, I like to make a big batch and then I freeze them in portions so they're ready to use whenever I need them. These compartmentalized freezer cubes are perfect for this purpose. But my nonno used to let the beans cool down completely and then just pop them in a Ziploc bag and freeze them. It's really important to note that you shouldn't store beans outside of the refrigerator at room temperature if they haven't been canned. Beans can easily pick up bacteria and make you sick if they're not properly stored. This is going into the freezer.
Beans freeze extremely well, and I would recommend freezing them in their bean stock. Alternatively, you could can them, but if you're going to do that, stop the cooking process about 10 minutes before they're finished. That way, when they're canned in water, that additional heat can finish cooking off the beans. If you want to make your beans on the same day, I'm going to show you how to quick soak them. It takes about an hour and a half, but it will definitely help with the digestibility and the texture of your beans. Add your beans to a pot. Then cover with plenty of water. Pop the lid on slightly ajar and set your pot to the highest temperature to boil. Once it comes up to a boil, let it boil for 2 minutes. Once the 2 minutes is up, turn off the heat and pop the lid on. Then set yourself a timer for 1 hour and just let them sit.
Once you've finished quick soaking your beans, drain them off and give them a good rinse. Then follow the exact same cooking process as I outlined earlier.
When your beans are ready, they should have a nice creamy center. These are so creamy, I can hardly cut them in half. But you can see here, really lovely creamy beans. If you found this video helpful, please head down below and hit the like button. And while you're there, why not let me know what your favorite bean is in the comments? If you're looking for a great bean recipe, you have to try my Tuscan ribollita. It is so hearty and warming, and it's a delicious way to use up beans. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.